You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
So our next question came in from a couple of different people, and that is essentially just not having enough free time to get things done. And I assume that means like the things you need to do to work on your business rather than like doing the actual gigs or whatever. So marketing yourself, running a social media, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that first of all, man?
It is a good point, because I've come, now that I'm reaching my first year, then there were points last year where I got really busy and things got on top. But ultimately, I would have to say it's different for me because I'm not juggling a family like some people are.
Yeah. With that though, I feel like there's always something for someone. There's a thing.
There's always a thing, isn't there? Yeah. I mean, my baby is a website.
Yeah. Exactly that.
So,
like
the amount of time. But yeah, ultimately it's kind of bollocks. Like this time blocking thing that I've started doing.
Yeah.
Is you basically you separate your day into half an hour.
Yeah.
Per day, and when you're self-employed, I think that your work day. Well, I've put my work day from 8 until 10, but that's because I take large chunks out of the day to do whatever I want to do. So you can just block out time, and then just if you actually, there's a really good term that I came across, which is what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've heard that.
Block out half an hour. Put your admin tasks down. If it takes 5 minutes, do it now. That's a really good. So if it's responding to an email or something like that, use templates. I do that. So I have notes on my phone that just list my standard rates and then my bank details and what my packages include, and then you can just send them over. Don't work yourself too much. Like when you get an inquiry through, because a lot of musicians don't anticipate that you have to do admin alongside playing the music. So when you get an inquiry through, don't work too much with the client, because if you give them a bit of kind of push, then you'll end up in this kind of push and through. Just be solid on your rates. Say, this is what I offer. If they can't afford it, sometimes they can't afford it, or if they don't want to afford it.
Well, that's good. That's key as well, is finding that out as early as possible so you don't waste a load of time with someone that was never going to pay your rates to begin with.
I mean, one thing that I would say that this is slightly abnormal for musicians to do, but then I'm doing the marketing business side as well, is I looked at some sales videos to understand the psychology of sales. And effectively, you need to be confident that you have a good product. And when somebody comes to you and they say, oh, I want you, but I'm not going to pay that, then you have to be a little bit rigid with just like, well, sadly, I mean, I can be flexible by adding things on. So if you booked me for a longer time, then we can drop the rate. But if it's, my standard package, I'm not going to go lower than that. And if maybe we're not right for each other, if you can't go that. And actually, it'd just be like, I just put in the emails. This is how much my rate is. And then if they don't get back, they don't get back. If they do, and I'm, if it's an abnormal day of the week, like a Monday, Tuesday, I would be more flexible, but typically just move on.
Yeah. So we've kind of moved on to rates here rather than...
sorry. Tangents, that's my expertise.
No, that's good. We've got other questions with pricing, so we'll fit that in after this one, actually. I mean, not having enough free time, it basically comes down to being organised, right? And trying to plan your weeks as much as possible. But having templates is great time saver for things that like inquiries and stuff like that. And as we just said, like not weeding out people that aren't ever going to pay your rates and wasting time if you're doing calls and stuff with someone, if you haven't talked about price yet, finding out 10 emails down the line that they were never going to pay that anyway, so don't waste time with that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Time blocking is really interesting, and I would like to try that, I think. Because I've been doing self-employed life now for quite a while, and I still haven't managed to get the balance right of having specific days off or specific time set to do something. Like I want to try and always have a set day that I'm doing, like working on my business stuff. And it doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. And because you like, if just say for example, you would set that as a Monday. Monday is the day where I'm going to be doing all things working on my business, and that's things to push it forward, not just working in your business, which would essentially be admin, I think, for a musician. That's like replying to emails and things like that. That's just sort of working in your business and obviously doing gigs and learning songs and stuff. But working on it, things that are going to push you forward. Set some time aside for that. And I mean, only you can know what those things are that you need to do at that specific time. But
and something that you're actually quite good at, that I would say, is don't be afraid to hire somebody to do something for you as well. Like I listened to one of your podcasts about there was a copywriter, and I wasn't really aware of what a copywriter was. You said you employed that person. First of all, you got some value from bringing them on the podcast, but secondly, didn't you say that all of your inquiries shot up as well?
If you're I mean, specifically a copywriter, their job is to get the words that you want to say and make them sound good, make them work. And Ella from Epiphany Copy, she's absolutely amazing. I've used her for a few times, and we'll be definitely using her again in the future as well. So I mean, don't be afraid to pass things off that will save you time or save you mental energy as well.
You can't be an expert in everything, can you?
No, exactly that.
So it's better to stick in your niche.
I mean, it depends how far along in your career and if you can afford this kind of thing, but you could also think about hiring sort of like a virtual assistant that can help with replying with emails and things like that, and sort of day-to-day admin things. There's a rule that you should either be delegating, I'm going to mess this up. Anyway, if you can't delegate it, if you don't need to do it, get rid of it completely. If it's something that it's just you think you need to do but don't, or pass it off to someone else. But not everyone can do that, especially at the start of their career, I think.
Yeah, it was something I had to come to terms with the website. Eventually, I just got somebody else. I'm quite good at editing the website, but eventually I was just like, there's too many things here for me to do in the time frame for me to learn it. So I want to get it installed, and I through networking, then I found a very good developer who I will definitely outsource some work to. There's bits that I need to learn about building the website, but equally when I need something done, that guy's not going to go doing sales for the website, for example, which is going to come from me. So stick in, it's always good to learn, but there's the 80-20 rule, isn't there? Where just for the listeners' merit is the 20% of the things that you do make 80% of the income, and 80% of the things that you do make 20% of the income. And then that's how when you whittle it down as you go through your business, then that's how you...
I heard that rule so many years ago, and I've never actually really done it. Like, because you have to sit down and actually figure out like what are your most profitable areas, and like and that is actually tees me up nicely for the next point, which is learning to say no to things as well, so that turning down things that aren't ideal or perfect, and that will give you more time. But that's not always easy at the start of career, when you kind of got to say yes to everything.
Well, you should be a yes man until you start refining what you're good at.
Yeah.
If this is for the benefit of people who are going into their career, then definitely say yes to everything, do everything, work all hours of the day, because you haven't got as many responsibilities as you would do when you're later in life anyway. And you get to whittle down what you enjoy, what you're good at, and the things that you enjoy and what you're good at, you will surprise yourself with. So that's where you figure out like what you like doing, what resonates with I guess your audience as well, and where you can figure out what makes you the most money, because we're all in this, maybe it started as a hobby, but these are businesses. They got to make money as well, otherwise you can't continue doing them. Well, that's exactly why I'm doing this. So just for the reference of the viewers, that's what time blocking looks like. and that's what I've done.
Yeah.
So,
Is that a special app, or is that just like Excel kind of thing?
it's
Or?
Excel. Well, it's
I bet
Apple's version of
there
it.
are apps for it though, aren't there?
Yeah, but you don't need to pay for those things, do you? Just like, also keep your costs down as a business.
Yeah,
generally. It's
yeah.
really useful to see where you spend your time and how much money you're kind of like where you're generating income. But all of the green parts on this, for me, one of the reasons I built the website was so that I could sell website services in the future, whether it be marketing or building. And so it's not making me money at the moment, but I'll leverage that in the future.
Yeah.
So even your learning is worth your time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 80-20 rule still works in that respect, but it doesn't mean you should sack off everything that you're doing. Just find that happy balance, and time blocking is a really good way to do it.
I'm sure there are probably some other tools and apps out there, but like, again, this is something I've been trying to figure out for a long time now and still haven't managed it, but figuring out proper CRM. And for people that don't know what that is, that's a customer relationship management software.
Yeah.
So it's just where you keep all your contacts and notes about clients and reminders and templates and all sorts of stuff like that. It all sits in one place so that you can sort of get it out of your brain and into a system where you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
So and that clears up mental space at least.
That's a really good point about the names thing, because just as like a slight side note, but one of the things that made me build relationships with all the venues that I work with is making sure that you know people's name.
Yeah, and remembering little details about things like kids and dogs and stuff like that, and people love that stuff.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, it's a good book. It sounds like
Brilliant
an awful book. It sounds like it
sounds
just
like you
sounds
have no
really shit.
friends.
It sounds really shit, doesn't it? But if you read it, and it was written in the like 1920s or something, so it does read a little bit old fashioned, but it's quite a short read, and it's just be a nice person, basically, is essentially it.
And if you struggle socially, which I would say most musicians do, is that's why we become musicians. Because we have no friends. Then it's a really helpful book to kind of help smooth things along when you do go into your career, because half of what we do is relationships with people, and the networking thing. So